So I'm gonna keep this quick so I can put it on many channels, including X, which has to be under 45 seconds. Check it out. Like this dude says to me, we're talking, man, you're such a dick. And I was like, well, I'd rather be a dick than a pussy because I'm a man. Sorry. I'm gonna try to get weird on me and shit. Talk some weird shit. Now I'm gonna look like Richard Simmons wearing 1980s clothing. And then I seen another similar kind of dude putting up basic fake child pornography, like introductory child pornography down the block here. Videotaped his ass too. And now I'm gonna show you all that wickety-wackety stuff right here. And I'm just trying to keep a beat street breakdown. You don't like that shit, then break my kingpin off on your fucking face. And we'll talk about that shit at the skate park.
Up here on the MLK, in front of Preventive Measures, where I get my mental health care. And you know what they say here on MLK at Preventive Measures, with the cops around all the time, police, federales, local police called the DC, and all kinds of different police. We're in DC, and we got all kinds of international agencies, local agencies, and all this stuff. Anyways, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of care. And so, like, you have to always try and, like, make sure an ounce of prevention is a pound of care. So, like, it's preventive. That's the idea of preventive medicine. Sour diesel is a famous strain from back in the way. You had 3 grades of shit. You had normal or whatever. You had it was called commercial or normal or swag or dirt weed. Then you had mids, and then you had chronic. This would have been chronic back in the day when I first got herb. This would have cost about $400 or more at least. Usually maybe $420. So now I got this today for $100, and it was full, but I smoked some. DC. So, like, and that's the idea. And I'm magic. And that's even better, because now I tell people, I go, sorry, it's magic, ESP, clarions, clairvoyance, gifts of God, I don't know. I have to learn how to use it properly. But only when the parents make sure I know that I'm scaring their children. I go, hey, sorry, without them actually saying anything out loud. It's lots of fun. That's how I talk to people in helicopters and airplanes too. And that's how I've done this whole thing with prayer and doing that blindly. And trust me, I am alone and have been for years and never even really fucking talked to people. Rest in Virginia, and the Strass family should have never lied to me until I was 50 years old. Hats off, brothers. And so there's an old movie called Apocalypse Now, which also led to Repo Man and some other good things. And that motherfucker was like, if I said it's safe to surf this beach, it's safe to surf this beach, soldier! So what happened was, motherfucker was like, if I say it's safe to smoke this weed, soldier! So I started smoking weed about 2.5 years ago, all basically in front of all kinds of cops. And then I went to jail a bunch of times, and they put me through the fucking ringer. They didn't just give me the business. They fucking said, oh, you think you're tough and want to make jokes about taking out 5 Navy SEALs by yourself? Well, we'll give you what we give a Navy SEAL if we're going to teach you not to be an asshole. And I made it out, so I was recently almost murdered by the streets. So watch out for the streets, because they put holes in your head. They put holes in teeth too. And they break your hands and shit, and steal your pants and your backpack. And then they don't report when it's time for court. So they're at loose, and then one of them's in the fucking loony bin. Anyways, that's how it's going. So yeah, simple, right? Not really. Not really, huh? Not really at all. But remember, the main point is this. If you have mental health problems, get help. And I recommend this place. I also recommend MBI here in Washington, D.C., which is up in, I think they're northeast. Or, well, they're on the other side of town, so I switched my services over here. But they also do medication management with cannabis. And, sorry, I lost my chaka on that one because basically I didn't get the top grade iPhone when I got this thing. So, and I don't have service on this thing, and I owe money on it. But what happens when you destitute, you just keep it on, but it makes good videos, and I had to clear some space on it. But MBI also does cannabis medication here in Washington, D.C., and dare I say there's many more. And I think it's excellent. It's an excellent choice to the pharmaceutical method. I mean, they also manage the pharmacopoeia as well. I think they're just adding flowers to it rather than deleting flowers from the situation. So I just refocused it so you can see the logo here at Preventive Measures. But what it is basically cannabis used to be part of the medical model in lots of the world, including the United States. And then after they vilified cannabis in the free market, they vilified it in the medical market as well as food, and removed it from a lot of medications. Then they removed food medicine from the medical and the model in the United States in the 1950s, which is around the same time they started doing things like founding the nations of Cuba, Israel, South Africa. Let's pick a few more. Maybe Madagascar is one of those places. You know, like maybe a modern one would be Myanmar and Israel still, but United States is also basically those same kind of things. The United States, like South Africa being founded 500 years ago, or we could say 1776, or when the books say 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but his real name was like Cristobal or something. And I don't know, it's all a big scam, pirate shit, made up crap and bullshit. Like when you talk about how fucking deep ingrained the evil is, there's a class of people who knows the biggest jokes in the modern education system. And I'm not going to tell you how they make money right now, which is by giving all their children the copyrights for the higher education textbooks. Within them, each page has a copyright on different diagrams, and each family's kid got some of those. They don't have to work. Their children are getting that in all of the books in the different languages. They get the copyrights in all the books. So the same way they just took our debt of $3 trillion and changed it to $30 trillion, their first generation gets one round of copyrights, and then the next generation gets all the other languages for higher education, where you go from bachelor to master to fat with a PH. Well, I say I spell fat with an X, and I just got really mad and forgot what I was getting at. Who cares? Anyways, let's go to Capitol Hill. That's called progress. That's called forward thinking. That's forward thinking. That's progress. I'm going to think about the pros and cons of that and go do some lobbying in Congress. Phew. I'm not a genius, but I don't really think Russia or China having nuclear plants is a danger to my security. But I think a country where there's people dying in the streets, being drugged by doctors and calling it medication, and people living in tunnels actually under Congress, which is right there, and the Supreme Court in the 395 tunnel for 3 decades now, and they haven't fixed that problem, let alone figured out how to even clean up the trash just blocks from here. And if it's after the weekend, just add a lot more liquor bottles and shit like that. And I'm not making this shit up. Then they got weird signs and crap going on around here. I just got threatened with a gun over there like 3 weeks ago. And like they put up signs like this everywhere. And this is the fucking problem. Clear Channel is some off-brand them Christian people that don't actually read the Bible or respect God or justice or Jesus. And this is by Clear Channel, Third Way, the fuck whatever. But this. That's not a danger to me. The more bigger danger to me is the police in this country who abuse their power, the judges who abuse their gavels, the doctors who abuse their master's degree knowledge to practice the art of fuck you, which is represented by 2 flying snakes wrapped around a pole. They also call it the American Medical Association. And I don't know about you, but I'll just give you one fucking example of how stupid this country is. When we were screwed over by the financial sector and the manufacturing sector, and they destroyed our economy, basically, our president decided to bail them out, and we agreed with it. And we went from a $2 trillion debt to a $3 trillion debt. And then everybody made movies about basically how the auto industry and the banking industry are a bunch of ass dicks. They use a bunch of hard drugs and slaves, which we like to call sex workers or human trafficked people now, which really is just slavery. So like we bailed them out with $1 trillion and they said, that's a lot of fun. Well, let's take over the world and let's make it a $30 trillion debt or more. So now after President Trump and President Biden, we are at over 30 trillion, I think 34 trillion to some accounts. So like that sucks dick. And so if you don't like being treated like a piece of shit and don't like getting flushed or fucked, then maybe somebody should try and do something about it other than me. Because this ain't happening. And people who come approach me about weird shit are like, the police are the ones that actually steal the children for the first few times and train them. And that's just some accounts. So like, nationwide, why is it, what, Minneapolis, 50 Native American women disappear every month? Minneapolis, and nothing's done. I mean, children just appear here. Children are shot here while riding in their cars with their moms, and at the same shootout, and it's just blocks from the Capitol, same shootout, a kid gets shot through the window in Dunbar High School, and guess what? They didn't even catch the people with the guns. Magic. There must be no evidence. No one saw it. I guess they didn't see that. Well, don't see this either because it's beautiful. And the building to the right is the Library of Congress. And the Library of Congress is run by a family called the Jenkins family. Now, Dr. Frank Jenkins is my principal. His wife was like one of the main people there. Now, his son is one of the main people there. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a way that they care about education. They care about maintaining the record of human writing and books and knowledge and thinking and the different perspectives and all the different teachings. And they keep the best records of it right there and the best people of knowledge right there in education. And then what you can't see is the Supreme Court over there, which the word Jesus means justice. And Palacio, I think it's Palacio de Justicia, Spanish for Supreme Court. But that's cool looking of the Capitol Dome right there as well. Beautiful building. And if you didn't know it, the statue of the person on the top is a Native American woman, and I forget who it is specifically. So, and we just had voting day here a couple days ago, and then I'm like, well, how come voting day isn't standardized for all local, state, and federal elections nationwide? And why don't we give Christmas to that? You know what I'm saying? And have it be Super Tuesday nationwide everywhere for all that elections and ballots. That's all.